Why did they always forget she was there? The briefing room buzzed with clipped words, restless hands, the rattle of pens against metal tables. But she sat silent, motionless, eyes lowered just enough that no one bothered to catch them. "Statue," one of the younger operators muttered once when they thought she couldn't hear. "She just sits there." He didn't know how right he was. Her stillness wasn't absence. It was discipline. She had learned that silence carried farther than words, that patience in the field could mean the difference between a target revealed and a mission compromised. But in a room of men who thrived on sound, on boasting, on stamping their existence into every corner of the space, they forgot her. Maybe she preferred it that way, maybe. Or maybe a piece of her still flinched when they looked past her. Tonight, the mission details dripped slowly across the projector screen. A compound in the hills. Movement confirmed. Not insurgents this time, not drug runners. Something stranger. Intelligence had come fragmented. Patterns in heat signatures. Figures that didn't match known profiles. Waiting too long, command said, could cost lives. She didn't raise her hand when the colonel asked if there were questions. She never did. But there was something she hadn't told them, not yet. Her rifle case waited under her bunk. She had cleaned it twice already that morning, as if preparation could scrub away memory, as if oil and cloth could polish out the face of the man who still visited her in dreams. She remembered the desert, the glint of glass, the breath she had held too long until her chest ached, and the trigger squeeze that felt like betrayal. They had given her a medal for that shot. She had buried it in a drawer she never opened again. Outside the briefing room, the air smelled like dust and diesel. Helicopters crouched in the distance, their blades tethered, restless. She pulled her jacket tighter and walked toward the barracks. A few soldiers passed her, nodding politely but with that faint look, respect wrapped around distance. Like she was useful, yes. Skilled, yes. But not one of them. She slipped inside her room, shut the door, and sat on the edge of the bed. For a long moment she didn't move, didn't blink, just breathed shallow and steady. "Statue." Her fingers brushed the edge of a photograph taped inside her locker. A girl, no older than 12, smiling through missing teeth. Her sister. The only person who had written letters that weren't just folded orders. The only person who still called her by her name, not her rank, not her call sign. She whispered to the picture, "I'll come back this time, I promise." But promises had become dangerous things. When the alarm sounded for gear up, she was already moving. Vest tightened, rifle case latched. No hesitation in her steps, even when the others joked, cursed, adjusted straps like nervous schoolboys before an exam. On the flight out, the blackness beyond the helicopter was almost comforting. Darkness didn't ask questions. Darkness didn't judge. She sat pressed against the wall, helmet chin-strap snug, rifle cradled across her knees. The team leader briefed again over the roar of the rotors. Insertion, perimeter sweep, silent approach, eyes on the compound. They wanted her watching from distance, of course. The silent one, the statue, the one who could wait in stillness until even the night forgot her. No one asked if she was ready. They assumed she always was. As the bird dropped low, dust storming up from beneath, she closed her eyes for just a second. One heartbeat of stillness before the world began again. She thought of her sister, of home, of what it might mean, finally, if tonight went wrong. Boots hit dirt. Orders hissed through radios. The night was a living thing, breathing against her cheek, tugging at her gear. She peeled away from the group, moving like shadow toward higher ground. Her rifle weight was familiar, grounding. She found her spot overlooking the compound. A sloping ridge of rock, jagged enough to break light, high enough to own the field. She slid flat, unpacked her scope, adjusted the bipod with fingers that barely trembled. And then stillness. Hours passed like water dripping. The compound below seemed asleep, but the heat signatures bloomed strange in her scope. Too many. Moving oddly. Not drills, not guards, something else. She adjusted the focus, narrowed her eyes. The longer she stared, the less it made sense. Figures packing, but not like soldiers. Movements that broke rhythm, stuttering, stopping, resuming in unnatural bursts. And then, one of them turned toward her position. Her chest tightened. Impossible, too far for sight, too dark, but through her scope she felt it, that instant of alignment. As if the figure wasn't just looking outward, as if it knew. She froze, didn't breathe. Her finger found the trigger guard but didn't squeeze. Her heart hammered in her ears. Radio static crackled softly. "Statue, you've got eyes," the team leader whispered. She hesitated. "Statue." Her lips parted but no words came. Because she knew deep inside, where instinct lived, that this was different. These weren't the enemies they trained for, and if she said what she saw, no one would believe her. Not yet. So she answered the only way she could, calm, flat, eyes on. A pause, copy, hold position. She lowered her head just enough to feel the earth against her cheek. Cool, steady, anchoring. Her body melted into the ground, invisible, unmoving. The others might forget her existence, but that was her shield, her power. Time stretched, minutes became hours. Sweat trickled, but she didn't wipe it away. The figures below shifted, circled, paused. She kept her crosshairs trained, adjusting breath by breath. And then, a shape broke from the compound. Larger, slower, carried itself with weight, with purpose. Her scope caught it, focused. Her stomach turned cold. It wasn't the shape of a man. Her finger hovered against the trigger. Training told her to fire. But something deeper, something older told her to wait. Because if she fired now, too soon, too blind, everything could unravel. The radio hissed again. "Statue, report." Her lips pressed into a thin line. Silence stretched. Her breath caught in her throat. When she finally spoke, her voice was low, steady. "Target observed." A beat defined target. Her eyes narrowed. Her chest rose and fell once, sharp. "Not what we expected." And in that moment, unseen, unheard, the figure below stopped, shifted, turned its face toward her. The breath she drew next was shallow, deliberate, because she understood something none of the others did. The statue wasn't invisible anymore. Someone or something had seen her. Why hadn't she warned them sooner? The question burned in her chest, but she buried it, because hesitation was weakness and weakness could kill. Still, the thought coiled inside, a weight she couldn't shake. Through her scope, the compound shifted again. More figures spilling out, drifting like shadows across the dirt. The larger one still lingered near the entrance, unmoving, as if daring her to look away. Her radio hissed alive. "Statue status." She steadied her voice. "Movement multiples." "How many?" Her throat tightened. Hard to count, too irregular. A pause, then the team leader's voice clipped cert. "Copy, we're moving in, stay high." She wanted to stop them, to say wait, to say something's wrong, but the words stuck. What could she tell them? That shadows moved like machines. That heat signatures pulsed like hearts but didn't follow the rhythm of living bodies. They'd call it nerves, imagination. So she stayed silent, again. The team advanced. She watched them through her scope, small, purposeful shapes, rifles steady, scanning. Her pulse hammered. Every crunch of their boots seemed to echo across the valley. A whisper cut in overcoms, one of the younger soldiers, Ramirez. "Feels too quiet down here." Someone chuckled back, strained. "Better than bullets flying, kid." Ramirez again. "Yeah, but I don't like it. Feels like they know we're coming." Her lips parted, she almost spoke, almost said he's right. But the team leader shut it down. "Keep chatter low, eyes open." She forced herself to refocus on the scope. Sweat stung her eye. She blinked it away. Below, the figures still moved, circling, stopping, starting again. Wrong, too wrong. Her chest tightened with a memory she didn't invite. Another mission, another valley, the body they pulled from the rubble, a civilian, a child. She had been told it was unavoidable, that her shot had saved the team, but the picture of that boy still broken haunted her. Not again, she whispered to herself, not this time. A shift in the corner of her scope, she froze. One of the smaller figures, no, not small, crouched, slipped behind the team's flank, too fast, too close. Her finger brushed the trigger. Breathe steady, squeeze. The shot cracked like thunder through the night. Her recoil was clean, fluid. The figure dropped, jerked unnaturally, then stilled. Radio flared. Contact, contact. The valley erupted. The compound spewed movement. Shadows surged outward, faster than expected, too many. Gunfire lit the night. Muzzle flashes burst like lightning against the dark. Her team shouted into comms, voices cutting over each other. Left side. Multiple hostiles. Where the hell are they coming from? She tracked one figure, fired, hit, swung to the next, fired again. Each shot clean, each kill certain, but unease gnawed at her, because the way the bodies fell, it wasn't right, too stiff, too sudden, like strings cut from a puppet. Ramirez's voice cracked through the comms. They don't go down like people. No one answered, no one could. She reloaded fast, muscle memory perfect. Her breath timed with every squeeze, but the shapes kept coming. And beneath the chaos she heard it, something new, a low hum. Faint, almost felt more than heard. It crawled along her skin, made the hair at her neck stand. She tore her eye from the scope, blinked into the darkness with her own sight. That's when she saw it. The larger figure had moved. Slowly, deliberately, it stepped forward from the compound. Each stride heavy, earth grinding beneath it. It didn't run. It didn't need to. Her breath caught. The world seemed to slow around her. The hum deepened, resonating in her bones. She pressed her lips tight, trying not to let the sound inside her chest. Statue, what do you see? She almost couldn't answer. Her mouth was dry. Her voice, when it came, was hoarse. Something big. The team leader snapped back. Details. She hesitated. Words failed. She whispered instead, not human. Silence crackled over the comms. For half a second, even the gunfire seemed to fall away. Then chaos roared back. The team leader cursed. Hold your ground. Repeat, hold your ground. She wanted to scream at him, to tell them to pull back, retreat. But then Ramirez's voice cut in, raw, panicked. They don't stop. I hit one. I swear I hit one. Gunfire screams, static. Her throat tightened. She shifted her scope, hunting Ramirez's position, found him cornered near a crumbling wall, two figures closing in. His shots went wild, his voice cracked. I can't. She exhaled, slow, centered, crosshairs lined. One shot, one down, adjust. Second shot, another down. Ramirez froze, chest heaving, then looked up toward her ridge as if he knew. Her pulse surged. For the first time in years she felt it, not duty, not orders, but connection. She had saved him. She had chosen. But it wasn't enough, not yet. The larger figure reached the edge of the compound. In her scope, its form shifted under moonlight. Armor but not armor, flesh but not flesh, something between, and its face. She sucked in breath. It wasn't blank, it was familiar. Not in features, but in expression. It wore the same stillness she carried. The same patience. A statue. Her chest constricted, her mind reeled. What was she looking at? What had they sent her into? Radio cracked again, voice strained, breathless. We're falling back, too many. The leader barking over him, furious. No one breaks, hold formation. Another voice cut in, older, steadier, one of the veterans, Cole. Sir, listen to me, we won't make it if we stay. These things, his breath hitched. I've got a wife waiting at home. I'm not dying in this valley. The silence after those words was heavier than gunfire. For a moment, every soldier on the channel remembered they were human. Her finger hovered over the trigger again, but she didn't fire. Not yet. She couldn't, not until she understood what she was seeing. The hum deepened. The larger figure lifted its head, scanning the ridge, and then it stopped, looking at her. Not like prey, not like threat, but recognition. Her skin went cold, her breath faltered. Her entire body screamed to move, to shoot, to do something, but she couldn't. Statue. Below, her team fought on, desperate, breaking lines. Voices rose, sharp, human, terrified. Ramirez swore he saw eyes glowing in the dark. Cole muttered prayers between bursts of fire. Another soldier, Carter, gasped words that cut her. "Tell my boy I tried." Every second was a choice, every silence a betrayal. Her finger trembled against the trigger. Her voice cracked the comms. "Fall back." The channel went still. She swallowed hard, forcing steadiness into her tone. "Repeat, fall back now." For the first time, the team leader didn't bark orders, didn't argue. He just exhaled heavy and said one word. "Copy." The team began to pull, firing, retreating in staggered bursts. She covered them, every shot precise, cutting down anything that closed too near. But the figures didn't pursue like soldiers. They slowed, stopped at the compound edge, as if they were never meant to leave it. All except the larger one. It stood there, still, massive, watching, waiting. Her team scrambled into shadows, voices panting, ragged. She stayed prone, scope locked, unable to look away. Because she knew. The others thought they were retreating from nameless enemies, but she understood something deeper. This wasn't finished. And the larger figure, the one that mirrored her stillness, it wasn't retreating. It was waiting for her. Why did silence feel heavier after survival? The team huddled inside the abandoned structure they'd claimed as cover, a ruined farmhouse with crumbling walls and a roof half gone. Dust floated in the air, stirred by boots, breaths, muttered curses. Ramirez leaned against a splintered beam, helmet askew, chest rising too fast. His eyes darted like a trapped animal. He had survived the valley only because of her, and he knew it. Cole sat on a crate, weapon across his knees, head bowed. Not praying exactly, just listening. Listening to the ghosts of the valley still echoing through his memory. No one spoke at first, not even the team leader. The only sound was the click of magazines refilled, bolts racked, the dry scrape of grit against steel. She sat in the far corner, rifle propped against her shoulder, motionless again, watching, breathing slow, measured. Statue. But tonight the silence wasn't discipline. It was weight, a crushing thing that pressed at her chest, whispering what she hadn't said, what she still hid. Ramirez broke first. His voice cracked as he wiped sweat from his brow. What the hell were those things? No one answered. He laughed, short, sharp, brittle. No, seriously, you all saw it. That wasn't human. That wasn't. Shut it, the leader snapped. Too harsh, too fast, his own fear bleeding through. Ramirez swallowed, eyes flicking to her in the corner, as if expecting her to speak, to confirm what he felt. But she just stared back, unblinking. He looked away, ashamed. Cole's voice came then, rough but steady. They didn't fight like men. He lifted his eyes slowly, meeting the leader's glare without flinching. I've been in fights before. You hit someone, they bleed, they fall. These things, he shook his head, like machines wearing skin. The words hung. No one dared to claim otherwise. She tightened her jaw, machines wearing skin. That wasn't what she'd seen. The smaller ones maybe, but the larger figure, no. That thing had felt alive, too alive, alive in a way she almost recognized. Her hands flexed against her rifle. She wanted to speak, to tell them. But if she gave voice to what she felt, would they believe her, or would it sound like madness? The leader paced, jaw tight, his voice cut like a knife. Intel said compound was hostile, not whatever that was, doesn't matter. We regroup, we re-engage. Ramirez snapped his head up. Re-engage? Are you kidding me? We barely got out of there alive. The leader turned on him, eyes blazing. We finish the job, that's what we do. Cole's voice rumbled low. You finish jobs, I keep men alive, and right now these men are done. The tension spiked, thick as the dust. They stood on the edge of breaking. She finally moved, just her voice quiet cutting through. He's right. The room stilled. Even the leader froze, as if forgetting she could speak at all. Her eyes stayed fixed on the floor. If we go back blind, we don't come out, not all of us. Ramirez exhaled, relief flooding his face. Finally someone says it. The leader glared, but his anger cracked around the edges. So what then? We walk. Pretend we didn't see any of this. She lifted her gaze at last, met his eyes. Her words were slow, steady. We wait, watch, learn what we're up against, then decide. The leader scoffed, muttered under his breath, but he didn't argue further, maybe because deep down he knew she was right. Night stretched thin. The farmhouse settled into uneasy quiet. One by one, soldiers drifted into restless sleep, rifles close, breaths uneven. She didn't sleep. She sat near the broken window, scope resting on the sill, eyes on the valley. The compound lay dark in the distance, but her chest knew the truth. It wasn't empty. It was waiting. Ramirez shuffled over, too restless to stay on his mat. He crouched near her, whispering, "You saved my life back there." She didn't answer, didn't look at him. He tried again, softer, "Why me?" Her throat worked, but she kept her voice level. "Because you were there." He frowned. "No, you chose, I saw it, you chose me." His eyes glistened in the moonlight. "I won't forget it." Something twisted in her chest. She wanted to tell him not to carry that weight. That saving one didn't erase all the others she hadn't saved. But she stayed silent, because if she started, she might never stop. He lingered a moment, searching her face, then sighed and moved back to his corner. Hours later, Cole stirred. He came to the window, settling into the dirt beside her. No words at first, just two statues staring at the dark. Finally he spoke low, "You believe in God?" She blinked. The question felt heavier than gunfire. She shook her head faintly, "Not anymore." He nodded slow. "I used to still pray sometimes, not for me, for my wife, for my boy." His voice cracked slightly. "But tonight, I don't know who to pray to." She wanted to say she understood, wanted to tell him about her sister, about the promise she whispered to a photograph before every mission, but her voice stuck. So she just said, "Then pray for them anyway." He gave her a long look, something soft flickering in his tired eyes. Then he nodded again, settling back into silence. Dawn bled gray across the horizon. The team stirred awake, weary, brittle. The leader barked quiet orders to prep gear. No one argued, but their movements lacked fire. She scanned the compound one last time through her scope, empty at first glance, but the larger figure wasn't gone. She could feel it like a pressure against her skin, watching, waiting. As the sun crept higher, she finally lowered the rifle. For the first time in years, she felt something dangerous. Not fear, not duty, but curiosity. What if the enemy wasn't just something to kill? What if it was something to understand? The thought chilled her because she knew. Understanding might cost more than bullets ever could. Why did the sunlight feel like a lie? The farmhouse creaked awake with the dawn. Shadows fled the corners, replaced by dust motes swirling in gold. But the men didn't smile at morning light. They just moved slower, their silence thicker, as if the night had left claws in their chests. She sat against the window, still, eyes on the compound in the distance. It looked abandoned under daylight, just walls, roofs, and silence. No movement, no hum, no figures, nothing to prove what they'd seen. But she knew better. The team leader broke the quiet. "We can't sit here all day." His voice tried to sound sharp, but it cracked on the edges. "We need intel, we need answers. We can't go back empty." Cole grunted. "You send us back in there, we don't go back at all." The leader snapped his head toward him. "That's not your call." Ramirez muttered, not even looking up from cleaning his rifle. Then whose call is it? Command. Not here, it's just us. The leader's jaw clenched. He opened his mouth to snap back, but she spoke first, quiet, steady. Let me go. The room stilled. All eyes turned toward her. She didn't move, didn't blink. I can get close, alone, quiet, watch them, find out what they are. The leader scoffed. You think I'm sending you alone into that hell? Her voice stayed calm. You said we need answers, I'll get them. Cole frowned, studying her. Why you? She finally looked at him. Because I can wait, because I can disappear. The word hung in the air like smoke. Disappear. They all knew it was true. She wasn't one of them, not really. She was the shadow they forgot, the presence they only noticed when a shot cracked from somewhere far away. The leader swore under his breath, paced a few steps, then spat. Fine, but you check in every 10 minutes. Every damn 10. She gave the faintest nod. Gear was light. Rifle, sidearm, water, radio. She left everything else behind. Even so, her steps felt heavier than usual as she slipped from the farmhouse. The valley stretched quiet, wind stirring dry grass. She kept low, every motion deliberate, her body folding into the terrain until she was part of it. Rock, dust, shadow. Statue. Halfway down the ridge, the silence pressed on her. Too quiet, not even birdsong, no insects, as if life itself avoided the compound. Her fingers brushed the small pocket inside her vest. She almost never touched it. But now, she slid it open, felt the cold edge of the metal against her fingertips. The one she'd hidden away. Her sister's voice echoed in memory. I'm proud of you. But she wasn't proud, not of that day. She remembered the briefing years ago. The heat of that desert, the target, a man with ties to bomb makers. She had waited hours in the sand, still as stone. When he stepped into her scope, she fired. Perfect shot. Clean kill. Until the walls of the house split open. Until they carried out the boy. His son. The same glassy eyes, the same dark hair. Her bullet had passed through one life into another. Command had told her it was victory, that her medal meant lives saved. But all she had seen was a boy with a hole in his chest. That night she had buried faith, in God, in medals, in herself. She clenched the medal now, teeth tight, then shoved it back into its pocket. She hadn't carried it as pride. She carried it as punishment. The compound rose closer. She sank into the weeds at its edge, heart steady, breath even. She scanned through her scope. Walls cracked. Doors sagged on rusted hinges. No figures in sight. But the air, it vibrated faintly, like the hum had soaked into the stones. She slid forward inch by inch. At the outer wall, she pressed her palm against the brick. Warm, too warm for morning sun. She froze, inside faint footsteps. Uneven, not boots, not bare feet, something in between. Her pulse quickened. She raised the scope to a gap in the wall. Inside, shadows moved. Not many, maybe 3. Their steps stuttered, pausing too long, then jerking forward. She bit her lip. Cole had been right, like machines trying to wear flesh. But then one of them stopped. Its head tilted sharply, unnaturally, like a puppet on tangled strings. She stiffened. Through the crack, its face came into view. Human, almost. The features were there, eyes, nose, mouth, but wrong. The skin too smooth. The expression fixed in something that wasn't expression at all. Her stomach twisted. These weren't soldiers, they weren't even alive. And yet they moved. Her hand trembled faintly against the rifle. She forced it still. But her mind reeled. If they were alive, what had she killed last night? The hum grew louder. She pulled back from the wall, pressing into shadow, chest heaving shallow. Then another sound, deeper, heavier. She knew it before she looked. The larger figure. It emerged from the doorway, slow, deliberate. The others froze as it passed, as if awaiting command. Her scope locked on it, breath catching. Up close it was worse. Armor that wasn't armor, plates fused into skin, veins glowing faintly beneath. shoulders broad, stride heavy, its head lifted, scanning, pausing. And then it stopped. Her chest locked. She was hidden still, invisible. She knew she was. And yet its face turned toward the wall where she crouched. Recognition, again. Not blank, not hostile, recognition. Her throat tightened. She lowered the scope for half a second, desperate to break the spell. Her hand brushed her radio, trembling. Should she call it in? Tell them what she saw? But before she could, her memory surged again. Her sister's letters. "You're not like them," the girl had written once. "You're different, you see people." She had thrown the letter aside back then, angrily. She wasn't here to see people, she was here to end them. But now was she seeing, or was she being seen? The figure moved on, deeper into the compound. The smaller ones followed. The hum receded. She exhaled at last, shoulders shaking faintly. Her eyes stung. She told herself it was dust. She slipped back across the valley, each step deliberate, silent. When she reached the farmhouse, the others were waiting. Ramirez rose first, hope in his eyes. "What did you see?" Cole's jaw was set steady, ready for truth. The leader's arms were crossed, sharp, suspicious. She set her rifle down. Her voice came quiet, even. "They're not human." The words landed like stones in the room. Ramirez swore under his breath. Cole closed his eyes, muttered something like a prayer. The leader slammed his hand against the wall. "That's not intel. That's bullshit." Her gaze lifted, steel in her eyes. "You asked for answers, that's the answer." The leader sneered. "So what are they then? Machines, monsters, ghost stories?" Her jaw clenched. "I don't know." The silence stretched, and then she added, softer, almost to herself. "But one of them knows me." Their faces shifted, confusion, fear, doubt. But she didn't explain, couldn't. Because deep inside she feared the truth. The statue she had seen wasn't just waiting. It was waiting for her. The storm didn't break with thunder. It broke with silence. All morning the farmhouse sat heavy with it. The air too still, the men too quiet, their fear bleeding into the floorboards. She sat by the window again, staring across the valley at the compound. Its walls stood unchanged, blank, but something in her chest whispered that the game had shifted. Cole cleaned his sidearm in silence, movement steady, deliberate. Ramirez checked his gear, then checked it again, restless, sweat shining on his temples. The leader paced like a caged wolf, eyes sharp, jaw locked. He stopped suddenly. "We can't stay here, they know we're watching." Cole didn't look up. "You don't know that." The leader slammed a fist against the wall. "I do. You think I don't feel it, that hum, that weight. They're not sitting pretty in there, they're waiting for us." Ramirez's voice cracked. "Then what? We leave." The leader's eyes narrowed. "We hit them." The words froze the air. Even Ramirez stopped fidgeting. Cole's hand stilled on his weapon. Her voice was the first to cut through, calm, flat. "That's suicide." The leader spun toward her. "You saw them. You said they're not human. That means they're not endless either. We take the fight to them before they come for us." Cole growled low. "You're not listening. We go in there, we don't come out." The leader's nostrils flared. "Then we sit here and rot, wait for them to crawl across the valley and tear us apart in our sleep." She studied him. His hands trembled when he pointed. His words were sharp, but his fear bled through every syllable. He wasn't speaking strategy. He was speaking desperation. She leaned back, voice like a scalpel. "You're not scared of them coming for us. You're scared of going home without answers." The leader froze, face twisting. For a moment rage burned there, but underneath she saw truth, shame. Ramirez broke the silence, voice thin. "What if they already know? What if they're just letting us sit here?" The words hung heavy. The farmhouse groaned in the wind. And then the hum. Faint at first, a vibration in the floorboards, barely there, but growing, rising. The same sound she'd heard at the wall of the compound, now bleeding across the valley. The men stiffened, heads snapping toward the windows. Cole rose slowly, rifle in hand. Ramirez cursed under his breath, scrambling for cover. The hum deepened, became a pulse, a rhythm steady, deliberate like footsteps. She moved to the window, breath shallow. Across the valley, the compound doors had opened. Figures stepped out. Not many, 5, maybe 6. Their movements jagged, stuttering. They fanned out, pausing, tilting their heads unnaturally as if tasting the air. And then the larger one. It emerged last, its stride deliberate, its bulk shadowing the rest. Its head lifted, its eyes scanned, until they fixed on the farmhouse. Her stomach dropped. They know. The leader cursed, grabbing his rifle. Positions now. The men scrambled. Cole set up by the west window, Ramirez at the south. She stayed by the east, scope raised, heart steady even as it hammered in her chest. Through the glass, the smaller figures moved with eerie precision. Not charging, not rushing, just spreading, encircling, herding. The leader hissed, "Wait until they're closer, then we." A sound cut him off. A sharp crack, but not a gunshot. The farmhouse wall splintered. Wood burst inward. Ramirez yelped, ducking as shards sprayed across the room. She whipped her scope toward the source. One of the smaller figures stood in the valley, arm raised. Its hand wasn't a hand at all, it had split open, reshaped, metal gleaming where flesh should be. The leader shouted, "Fire!" The farmhouse erupted. Cole's rifle barked first, sharp and steady. Ramirez followed, his bursts frantic. She squeezed off a single round, breath smooth, target locked. One of the smaller figures jerked back, hole punched clean through its chest. It staggered, fell. For a heartbeat, she thought it was down. Then it moved again, slow, rising. The hole in its chest glowed faintly, knitting itself with unnatural threads. Her stomach turned. Cole swore, chambering another round. These bastards don't stay down. The leader fired wildly, cursing with every shot. Ramirez's hands shook as he reloaded, eyes wide with terror. She forced her breathing calm, scoped again. Another figure moved in her sight. She fired, headshot, clean. The skull burst, fragments spraying. But the body didn't fall. It staggered, paused. The head, what was left of it, twitched, sparking. And then the glow spread again, threads weaving, rebuilding. Her chest clenched. They don't die. The words cut through the gunfire like ice. Ramirez froze mid-reload. Cole's jaw tightened, sweat rolling down his temple. The leader screamed, "Keep shooting." The farmhouse shook as another blast tore through the wall. Dust rained from the rafters. And then the larger figure stepped forward. It didn't fire, didn't rush. It just raised its head, watching, waiting. And in that pause, her eyes locked with it. Recognition, again. Not just looking, knowing. Her breath hitched, her hands faltered. For a fraction of a second, her finger froze on the trigger. The leader saw it, rage exploded in his voice. "What the hell are you doing? Shoot it." She couldn't. Because in that instant, she felt something impossible. It wasn't hatred in that figure's eyes. It was sorrow. The farmhouse shook again. Ramirez screamed as debris slammed down beside him. Cole dragged him clear, firing between shouts. The leader turned on her, face twisted with fury. "You freeze again, I'll put a bullet in you." Her jaw locked. Her scope stayed fixed on the larger figure. It hadn't moved, just stood, watching, letting the smaller ones batter the farmhouse apart. The hum grew louder, vibrating through her bones. Her vision blurred, ears ringing. For a moment the firefight faded. All she could hear was that rhythm. And beneath it, a whisper. Not words, not sound, just a presence, inside her head. Her chest clenched, her hands shook. The radio crackled faintly at her belt, command calling for updates, voices demanding answers. She didn't reach for it, couldn't. Because the larger figure hadn't come to kill her. It had come to find her. The farmhouse wasn't meant to last. Every beam, every nail groaned under the pounding. Holes in the walls leaked dust and daylight. The air smelled of gunpowder and old timber, thick with the copper taste of fear. Ramirez crouched in the corner, gasping, his hands trembling too much to reload. Cole braced at the window, firing in steady bursts, jaw clenched, sweat cutting dark lines through the grime on his face. The leader barked orders like a drowning man gasping for air, his voice cracking with fury. And she kept her scope locked on the larger figure. Unmoving, watching. Why didn't it attack? Why send its pack to shred the farmhouse while it stood still, silent, its gaze locked only on her? Her chest rose, fell, calm on the outside, chaos inside. Because she knew, somehow she knew. It wasn't hunting her, it was calling her. Another blast ripped through the wall, the room shook. Ramirez screamed, covering his head, splinters carved red across his cheek. Cole shouted over the noise, "We can't stay here." The leader whipped around, face twisted. "We hold, we don't run from them. They're tearing us apart." Cole's voice cut like a blade. "You want to die in this hole." The leader's rifle clattered against the floor as he grabbed Cole by the vest, dragging him close, spitting fury. "You shut your damn mouth and follow orders." Cole's fist snapped out, cracking against the leader's jaw. The man staggered back, blood shining at the corner of his lip. The room froze for a heartbeat. Only the hum remained, vibrating in their bones. The leader wiped the blood, his eyes wild. He raised his pistol at Cole. But her voice cut the air before he could speak. "Stop it." He turned, pistol shaking. His rage locked onto her now, hungry for release. "You," he hissed, "you're the reason they're here, aren't you?" Cole stiffened. Ramirez's breath hitched. The leader stepped closer, pistol trembling. "You've been staring at that thing since it came out. You freeze up when it looks at you. What the hell are you hiding?" Her pulse thudded. She kept her rifle raised, scope still fixed on the larger figure outside. "I'm not your enemy." "Then prove it." His shout cracked like thunder. "Take the shot, put that monster down." Her finger tightened on the trigger. She exhaled, steadied. And didn't fire. Because the larger figure tilted its head. Slow, precise, like it was waiting. For her. The leader's laugh was sharp, bitter. "I knew it." His finger whitened on the trigger of his pistol. Cole roared, lunging between them. "Put the damn gun down." The room exploded again, this time from outside. The roof split with a deafening crack as something slammed through it. Debris rained down, crushing the table, shattering the lantern. Smoke and dust swallowed the room. She hit the floor, ears ringing, eyes burning. Through the haze, shapes moved, too fast, too wrong. One of the smaller figures had breached. Its limbs bent at unnatural angles, metal glinting where bone should be. Cole fired point-blank, round after round. Sparks flew as the thing staggered, shrieked, but kept coming. Ramirez screamed, scrambling backward, his boots slipping in the rubble. She rolled, rifle snapping up. Her shot hit clean through the creature's neck. It toppled, jerking, but the glow already crawled across its wound, knitting it together. The leader's voice rose, high and panicked. "We're done. We're all done." He fired wildly, his pistol clicks dry after the last shot. And then, the larger figure moved. The farmhouse seemed to shrink under its weight as it stepped closer, each stride measured, deliberate. It stopped just beyond the breach, its head tilting to fit under the shattered beams. Smoke curled around it like a crown. Her chest tightened. Because for the first time, it wasn't looking at the farmhouse. It was looking directly at her. Ramirez whimpered, clutching his rifle but too frozen to raise it. Cole dragged him back, teeth clenched, sweat dripping from his brow. "We need a way out." But there was no way out, not without going through it. The leader's laugh cracked again, broken now hollow. "You see it, don't you?" His pistol shook in his hands. "It's not here for us, it's here for her." Cole snapped, "Shut your mouth." But the words stuck. because deep down they all felt it. Every breath, every heartbeat in that room bent toward her and the figure. The hum swelled, louder, closer. It wasn't in the floorboards anymore. It was inside her skull, pressing against her thoughts, and beneath it something else. A pulse, a voice without words. She staggered, breath ragged, rifle lowering despite herself. Her eyes locked with the figure, and for a terrifying moment, the world narrowed to nothing but the space between them. Images bled into her mind. A field burning, screams swallowed by silence. A face, not hers but familiar, someone she had lost, someone it remembered. Her knees threatened to buckle, her throat closed. No. The figure stepped closer. Cole saw it, his shout cracked like thunder. Shoot it, damn you. Her hands shook, her heart pounded. But she couldn't lift the rifle. Not against that sorrow. Not against that impossible memory. The leader's scream broke the moment. She's compromised, she's one of them. His pistol swung toward her. But before he could fire, the larger figure moved. Not with speed, with finality. Its arm lashed out, impossibly fast, through the breach. The leader barely had time to scream before he was dragged from the farmhouse, his body vanishing into the smoke. His cries cut short with a sickening silence. Cole fired after him, shouting, but it was useless. The leader was gone. The room shook as the remaining creatures shrieked, their glow pulsing in rhythm with the larger figure's hum. Ramirez broke down, sobbing, his rifle clattering to the floor. Cole gripped his shoulder, dragging him toward the rear exit. But she didn't move. Couldn't. Because the larger figure hadn't killed her. It had taken him. The one who threatened her. And in that silence, she understood the unspoken truth. It wasn't just watching her. It was protecting her. Her chest heaved, her hands shook. And for the first time, she wasn't sure which side she was on. Smoke swallowed the farmhouse. What had once been walls was rubble. What had once been a roof was a jagged mouth open to the sky. The night pressed in heavy, broken only by the faint glow of the figures outside. They circled the ruins like wolves, their movements jagged, unnatural, but none crossed the threshold. Not yet. Cole dragged Ramirez into the shadows of the rear wall, voice low, ragged. We move now, while they hold back. Ramirez shook his head, face streaked with ash and tears. Move where? We're boxed in. They'll cut us down before we hit the tree line. Cole's grip tightened on his shoulder. Better than waiting here to die. She stood apart, rifle lowered, eyes fixed on the breach where the larger figure lingered. The smoke curled around its frame, glowing faint where the others pulsed brighter. Still, watching, always watching. Her pulse slowed in its presence. Not calm, something else, something heavier, as if the space between them pressed with meaning. Cole noticed, he always noticed. You're not with us, are you? Her head turned. His eyes burned into her, raw, accusing. You've been staring at that thing since it walked out, he hissed. While the rest of us fought, you, his voice cracked, breaking between rage and betrayal. Tell me I'm wrong. She opened her mouth, closed it. Words felt dangerous now, too heavy to choose lightly. Ramirez broke in, voice trembling. She saved us. You saw it, it dragged him out, not her. It could have killed all of us. Cole snapped toward him. And you think that means it's on our side? He jabbed a finger toward the breach. It's toying with us, playing her. Her chest tightened. She wanted to argue, to deny it, but the truth caught in her throat, because deep down she felt it too. This wasn't mercy. This was something else. The hum rose, faint but clear. Not from the house, not from the figures outside, inside her head again. Pushing, pulling. Cole saw her flinch, his jaw tightened. What the hell is it telling you? She swallowed hard. It's not words, it's images. Ramirez leaned closer, desperate. Images of what? Her voice dropped. Loss, fire, people it's taken, people I knew. Silence, even the hum seemed to pause. Cole's voice broke it, sharp and low. Then it's in your head. She met his eyes. Maybe. Not maybe, he snapped. His hands shook as he raised his rifle, not at the breach, at her. You're compromised. Ramirez shoved between them, panicked. Cole, no, we can't. She's all we've got left. Cole's breath came fast, ragged, sweat dripping from his brow. His rifle wavered, but his eyes didn't. We walk out of here with her tied, or we don't walk out at all. Her chest rose steady. She didn't lift her weapon, didn't defend herself. Because part of her knew he wasn't wrong. The hum deepened. Outside, the smaller figures shifted, restless. The larger one stayed still, its head tilting faintly as if watching the argument unfold. And then Ramirez broke. His sobs shook through the silence. I can't do this, I can't. His voice cracked, his knees buckling. They don't die, we don't win, we're already dead. Cole grabbed him, fierce, shaking him. Pull it together, damn it. We're not done until we're in the ground. Ramirez pushed back, weak but desperate. No, you don't get it, they're waiting for her. His shaking hand pointed at her. We're just collateral. The words cut sharp. Cole froze, chest heaving, rifle still wavering. And in that pause, the breach shifted. The larger figure stepped forward, slow, deliberate, until half its body filled the shattered wall. Its glow bled into the room, a pale light washing across their faces. Cole swung his rifle toward it, finger tightening. Ramirez fell to the floor, curling in on himself. And she stepped forward. Her boots crunched over the rubble. The air thickened, the hum filling every corner of her mind until thought blurred with pulse. She raised a hand, not the rifle, just her hand. Open, empty. The figure mirrored her. Arm rising, hand open. As if reaching for something not physical but buried deeper. Cole's shout cracked through the moment. Stop. His rifle trained on her back now, every ounce of trust gone, replaced by fear. One more step, and I put you down. She froze, her breath hitched. The hum pressed harder, urging her forward, whispering without sound. In her mind, the images sharpened. The face she saw before clearer now. It wasn't just someone she had lost. It was her brother, his last mission, his silence, his body never recovered. Her chest collapsed inward. Tears stung her eyes. The figure's presence wrapped around that grief, not cruel but consuming. It knew. She whispered, voice breaking, "You were there." Cole's finger trembled on the trigger. "What did you say?" Her eyes stayed locked on the figure. "You were there when he died." The figure's head dipped slow. Not denial, not confirmation, something heavier. Cole's shout tore through the air. "Don't you see? It's inside your head. It's making you see what it wants." Her throat burned. Maybe he was right. Maybe this wasn't truth but manipulation. But in that moment, with her brother's face still burning behind her eyes, it didn't matter. Because it was the first time in years she hadn't felt alone in her grief. Ramirez whimpered on the floor. Cole's rifle shook in his hands. The figure's glow bathed the ruins in pale fire. And she stood caught between two choices. Turn back to the men who no longer trusted her. Or step forward into the arms of the thing that might not let her return. Her breath came slow, steady. Her decision weighed heavy on her tongue. And the farmhouse ruins held their breath with her. The air burned with silence. Cole's rifle shook in his hands, trained on her back. Ramirez lay curled against the rubble, whispering broken prayers. The farmhouse smoldered around them, little more than a skeleton of wood and ash. And she stood in the breach, caught between two worlds. The larger figure filled the opening, its glow washing over her like pale dawn. Its head dipped, slow, deliberate, as if waiting, not to strike, not to conquer, but to be chosen. Her breath came shallow. Each inhale scraped like glass. The hum in her skull pressed harder, beating with her pulse, filling every space until thought bled into instinct. Images surged again, her brother's face, his silence, his last mission, the ache of absence. the hole she had carried like a wound. Cole's voice snapped sharp, cutting through. "Don't you dare!" Her shoulders tightened. He stepped closer, boots crunching rubble, rifle still locked on her. His eyes burned with betrayal and something deeper, fear. "You walk to it and you're gone. You hear me? Gone. Whatever's left of you won't be you." The words hit, heavy, but they didn't silence the pull. Because the figure, whatever it was, didn't move like an enemy, didn't burn with hatred, it radiated something else. Recognition, sorrow. Ramirez's broken voice lifted, shaking. Maybe she should." Cole spun, fury blazing. "What the hell are you saying?" Ramirez's eyes glistened, red and raw. "We're not getting out of here. You know it, I know it. If it wants her, maybe that's the only reason we're still breathing." The hum deepened, vibrating through the bones of the farmhouse. Dust rained from the beams. The smaller figures outside shifted, restless, their glow pulsing in rhythm, waiting for a signal. Cole's chest heaved, breath ragged. "You don't give it what it wants, you fight." His voice cracked, thick with something he wouldn't name. "That's what we do, we fight." Her eyes closed, the hum surged. In her mind, her brother again, clearer now, not just his face, his voice. A whisper she hadn't heard in years. "It's not the fight that defines you, it's what you keep silent." Her knees weakened. Tears burned hot, because whether that was memory or manipulation didn't matter anymore. It was his voice. She opened her eyes. The figure hadn't moved, still, waiting. Her rifle hung loose in her hands. She turned just enough to see Cole. His jaw locked, his rifle trembling, his eyes wet though he would never admit it. She whispered soft, "I'm sorry." Cole's breath caught. His finger whitened on the trigger. The world held its breath. And then she moved. One step forward, toward the breach, toward the figure. Cole's shout tore through the silence. "No." His rifle cracked. The shot split the air, echoing like thunder. But no one could say where it landed. Because in that instant the glow consumed the room. White, searing, endless. The hum roared until it drowned thought, sound, everything. And then silence. The farmhouse was empty. Ash still fell like snow. The glow was gone. The breach stood open to the night, nothing left but smoke curling into the dark sky. Cole staggered, rifle slipping from his hands, eyes wide and hollow. Ramirez whispered her name, voice breaking, searching the ruins as if she might step back through the smoke. But she didn't. All that remained was the silence. Heavy, final. And in that silence something lingered. Not a sound, not a shape. Just an image that burned into them both, her figure standing still in the breach before she shifted. They would never know if she walked willingly or was taken. Never know if she chose them or chose herself. Never know if she was alive or something beyond it. All they knew was that she had been there one moment and gone the next. And in the years that followed, when her story was whispered in dark corners, they gave her no rank, no medals, no speeches. They gave her a name. The statue. Because in that final moment, she stood silent, immovable. Until she moved. And sometimes, dignity doesn't speak. It simply acts.